Hi, and welcome back to Welsh Miniature Gamer. Again, this week I've been painting a few miniatures, so let's go and have a look at what I've done. So this first miniature is made by Dust, or Dust Tactics I think it was called. It's a miniature actually I bought when I saw it was on sale, because I think Dust was going through a bit of a troubled spell. So they were getting rid of a few of their miniatures, so I bought this, and it's going to be used as a robot for this is not a test, or maybe someone in power armor, and I think it'll suit it quite well. It's a very basic paint scheme, because I didn't want anything too fancy to make it for a particular faction or whatever. So yes, next miniature is also of a Dust Tactics miniature. I think they were in a American or an Allied box set that I got quite cheap. So yeah, the second one, much like the first one, they're armed the same way, with some sort of heavy machine gun in one arm. The paint scheme is very basic, dark black with a slightly dark dry brush, and then an even lighter one, and finally a very light dry brush. But all three of the minis are very similar in the way I painted them. And here we are with the final one. So yeah, it looks very similar to the other ones. And then we have a picture of the three miniatures together, and they look pretty cool. They do what I want them to do on the table here. And finally, pictures from behind. So they got green ammo packs, because I thought that would make it stand out a little bit more, as opposed to it being all grey and black. So yeah, I also painted this miniature from, hang on, let me get this right, Wizkids, Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures. They come pre-primed, which is nice, and it's a nice looking miniature. I like this, painting this one. Their features aren't terrible, considering they are like a budget price miniature. I think that they turn out quite well. And this female druid, I think, looks pretty good. I might use her if I'm looking maybe of starting to play what's it called, Frostgrave. So I'm thinking maybe she might be good as a wizard from Frostgrave. Here's a picture of her back, and yeah, it's a nice detailed miniature. You know, put a bit of texture on the base to make her stand out, so she doesn't. The bases look a bit rubbish, to be honest, if you don't do anything with them, because they're funny little black discs. But these look a lot better. Right, the next miniature again is from the same company, Wizkids, Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures, or whatever they call them. This is the female halfling rogue. Yeah. And again, I quite liked her. I enjoyed painting her, actually, which I don't usually enjoy painting fantasy quite as much because of the lack of variation in shades. But yeah, I liked painting this one. She's quite a cute little dinky miniature. And here's another picture of her from behind. Again, textured her base, a bit more of a rocky looking base. I thought it suited her somehow, with just a small amount of flocking to make it not quite so monotoned, which I think worked out quite well. And the final miniature that I painted from the Wizkids Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures range, I painted the, let me have a look, it's the elf female sorceress, and I think she turns out okay. I messed up her one eye, which you can only really see when you take a picture of her with the camera. When you're looking at her normally, you wouldn't be able to see it, but if you look closely, her left eye doesn't look quite right. But it's okay, because it's so small a detail. But yeah, I did blue flame effects to make her look like some sort of water magician. And this is a picture of the rear view of her. Again, I put a few little stones on the base to make it a bit more interesting than the simple black disc that she comes with. That would be my only little problem with these miniatures, is the little discs that they give you are a bit strange, because you put their pre-formed base that is connected to their feet, which looks like a bit of a rocky outcrop, and then you just glue it to their plastic flat stand, and it looks kind of weird. So yeah, definitely you need to flock it or put some stones on it or something to make it look a bit more interesting. And the final picture is of the three Wizkids miniatures that I did together. So you can see really the size of the little halfling. She is tiny compared to the other two. And the elf does look in proportion larger than the human druid, which I think is good that they got the proportions roughly right, so you don't end up with your elves looking tiny compared to your humans, etc. These actually do look like the proportions that I would expect from fancy elves, halflings, and humans. What do I think of their miniatures? I think these are really good miniatures for the price that they are. I can't see you doing better for the price, to be honest. I haven't tried any Reaper miniatures, so I can't really compare the two. But these are nice sculpts, and they take paint really well, especially because they have that primer which they're meant to be based with. I think it's meant to be a Vallejo primer. So yeah, I was impressed with these. I'll definitely buy some more. And the final thing I got painted this week is the Mantic's Plague Trooper, I believe they're called, 3rd generation, I think. My brother needed a miniature for this is not a test band. He had a mutant with a flamethrower, so he looks perfect as a substitute. And the picture of the back. As you can see, I did some camo trousers, which worked out pretty well considering it's the first time I've ever tried to do camo trousers. Because I lie, I did try it once before and it completely failed. But these actually look like they could be camo trousers. Here is a picture from the side of the miniature. They're okay miniatures. They're not particularly brilliant, the Mantic multi-part Plague Troopers. They're okay, but you can see like the joins where the arms go on, etc. That would be a slight problem with them because they look like they've got huge shoulders. But in the case of these, it kind of looks okay because they're like mutants, so it doesn't really matter. I went for a slightly exposed flesh look to their bodies, so it looks like the skin's sort of breaking away, etc. So you can see the red underneath. So yeah, I did pretty okay this week painting. I try and aim to paint at least 3 miniatures a week. That's my plan. I don't paint to get things finished. I only really paint to my speed and to my enjoyment of it. I don't worry about hammering them out, really. And I don't worry about what other people think of how well I painted them. It's for me, so I don't really care. And I think most people should try and paint that way. Don't think what the experts can do. Think about what you can do and just paint to your own enjoyment. And you'll improve that way. And, stick with it. So until next time, I'll see you soon.